case we're going to be talking about today is absolutely horrible. It's terrifying and it's heartbreaking. We're going to be talking about another case of child DCFS let down another child. Yeah, you heard me correctly. It happened again. We're going to be talking about Gavin Peterson from West Haven in Utah. He was only 12 years old. He was being mistreated so bad by his own dad, his stepmother, and his own brother. Gavin was pulled out of school by his stepmother, and she told them that she was going to be homeschooling him. Gavin was locked in his room. He was a prisoner in his own house. He was locked in his room. There was surveillance cameras all over his room. He didn't have any carpets. He didn't have any furniture. After this case unfolded, the police, they found footage of Gavin just lying on the floor in his room wearing a diaper because he was denied access to a toilet. He was also denied food. He was denied water. He didn't have a life at all. He was a prisoner. The only food he got in a day would be 2 slices of bread with mustard, and then he would have 2 glasses of water, but the glass wouldn't be full. It would not even be half full. That was all they gave him in a day. Gavin started to become more and more skinny, and all alarm bells went off in his school and in his neighborhood when they saw him. DCFS has been called so many times, and still nothing was done. Nothing. Eventually, Gavin's small body couldn't take it anymore, and all his organs, they slowly started to shut down. And in the end, Gavin, unfortunately, he lost his life. I am gonna go over what happened in this case. I'm gonna show you interviews with a lunch lady from Gavin's school. I'm gonna show you an interview with Gavin's big sister who escaped the house of horror. So if you're ready, let's do this. Gavin Peterson was a sweet 12-year-old boy living in West Haven, Utah. He lived with his father, Shane Peterson, his 21-year-old brother, Tyler Peterson, and his stepmother, Nicole Scott. Gavin was known by family, friends, and school personnel to be very soft-spoken, polite, and gentle. He didn't have a lot of friends and would mostly keep to himself. After COVID was over and the children went back to school, Gavin started to get a lot of attention. He had become very thin, and the lunch lady at school named Jan Davis, she noticed that Gavin was going through trash cans to find food, and they also found out that he would steal lunch from the other students. She got very concerned and told other staff members at the school what she had observed. They all chipped in and bought lunch tickets for Gavin so he could eat lunch at school, and at the same time they also reported it to the DCFS. They all felt like he was being mistreated at home. When Nicole, the stepmother, found out that they were buying lunch tickets for Gavin, she got very angry.
You would see him digging through the garbage. And at that point, if the little kid is hungry, I'm going to buy his lunch ticket.
Jan was so worried, she and another lunch lady started paying for Gavin's lunch until his stepmother, Nicole Scott, found out.
She was really upset, and we were to stop paying for his school lunches.
And by the next school year, when Gavin was in 5th grade, he started stealing other children's lunches.
I just believe he was so hungry that he was stealing other people's food.
A few days later, Gavin came back to school with a chipped tooth. They were all very worried that they could be the cause of that for helping him.
I just feel like we have failed him.
Jan Davis worked in the lunchroom at Gavin's school before his parents pulled him out last fall. She, among others at Canesville Elementary, knew he could be in trouble.
It just broke your heart.
For the first time in her life, Davis reported abuse and neglect concerns about a student directly to DCFS. Her colleagues did too. They all got especially worried when he didn't return for school.
We were not allowed to follow up. It was an invasion of the family privacy, us to call the state and ask where it was standing and what they were doing for him.
Did you read through the arrest documents of his family members?
Yes, I did.
What?
I have been a mess. I think the system has failed him. Could have done so much more. I could have packed his lunch for school. I could have pushed the issue harder. I just feel like I could have done more.
By August 2023, Gavin stopped attending school. The stepmother Nicole had pulled him out of school to homeschool him. When the school personnel, they noticed that Gavin wasn't attending school, they were hoping that social services had removed him from the home. The next time Jan Davis, the lunch lady, heard about Gavin, it was on the news.
Moving on to West Haven, where 3 family members are facing child abuse felony charges in connection to the death of a 12-year-old boy.
On a GoFundMe page, members of the family shared this photo of 12-year-old Gavin Peterson. Along with this picture, the boy's aunt wrote on the page, in part, quote, "Gavin was killed on July 9th, 2024 after suffering years of physical abuse and neglect from his dad's long-term girlfriend."
Gavin had passed away. She was completely heartbroken, and even though her and her colleagues had reported their concerns multiple times, nothing had been done, and now they feel so guilty and wish they had done more. On July 9th, 2024, a 911 call was made. When the police arrived to the home, Gavin was cold to the touch. He was brought to the hospital where they did everything they could, but unfortunately, Gavin was pronounced dead. They said that the cause of death was starvation. All Gavin's organs they had shut down, and he also had several bruises on his body. The police decided to start an investigation, and what they found shocked them. The police went to Gavin's house, and they found his room where there was a lock installed on the outside of his room. There were no carpets, there were no furnitures, and the room had installations for several surveillance cameras, but the cameras, they were missing. The police, they dug deeper and confiscated Shane, Nicole, and Tyler's mobile phones, but everything on their phones had been deleted. But with today's technology, they managed to get most of the texts and camera footage back. It showed Gavin lying on the floor in his room with a diaper, and he was covered in feces because he wasn't allowed to use the toilet. His back was full of sores made by a piñata stick. Gavin was denied regular food and only got a third of a cup of water and a piece of bread with mustard twice a day. It also revealed text messages describing details about how they were mistreating him and locking him in his room. They also found their answer about the missing surveillance cameras from Gavin's empty room. When the 911 call was made, his brother Tyler is seen leaving the house twice, walking to the shed in their backyard. When they checked the shed, all the cameras were found inside. Shane, Nicole, and Tyler was arrested by the police and is now facing several charges. All of them were charged with child abuse homicide, 2 counts of aggravated child abuse. The stepmother Nicole and the brother was charged with obstruction of justice. The father Shane and Nicole were charged with child endangerment, and Nicole got an additional charge of drug possession. Gavin's brother is autistic, and there's speculations out there if Tyler is a victim as well. It is speculated that maybe he was manipulated and he just did what he was told. After all of this came out, Gavin's big sister Milani, she came forward. She said that while she lived in that house, she was also being starved and abused physically and emotionally by Nicole. She would be called names every day. She would be tied to her bed with zip ties on her hands and ankles, and Nicole would tell her that if she moved, she would beat her. She also said that one time Nicole had shaved her head as a punishment for brushing her hair. A close friend of Melanie got very concerned about her and reported it to the school. DCFS was called in, but Melanie was told there wasn't much they could do. But there was put out an order saying that Nicole wasn't allowed to be alone with Melanie. That made Nicole even more angry, and she told Melanie that she wanted to unalive her. In May of 2019, Melanie was finally able to leave the house and move in with her mom, but she wasn't allowed to bring Gavin with her.
They manipulated me into hating my mom.
Melanie Peterson says she lived in a world of isolation under the roof of her father, Shane Peterson, and stepmother, Nicole Scott.
She called me names every day.
The emotional and physical abuse started in late 2018 when she was about 13. Melanie describes disturbing details like the time Nicole allegedly shaved her head as punishment for brushing her hair.
At that time, I was mostly focused on surviving.
But that was only the start.
They would starve me until I was really skinny.
Melanie says she was fed 1 to 2 times a day, the same food prosecutors allege her little brother Gavin ate before presumably dying of hunger.
The same thing Gavin did. Fed with mustard.
Melanie says Nicole included the mustard because the kids hated it.
I gotta go there.
She also alleges being locked inside a bedroom. Nicole tracked her every move with a camera. At one point, zip-tied her to the bed.
They would tie my ankles, and she said if I moved, she'd beat me over and over again.
Melanie says Nicole beat her with a belt or a wooden spoon. In March 2019, a concerned friend reported the abuse at school, and Melanie alleges DCFS was brought in.
They basically told me that they couldn't do anything. I told them that I was deathly terrified to go back with them.
Instead, Melanie says a safety plan was created, and Nicole wasn't allowed to be alone with her.
I remember her telling me she wanted to kill me.
But the abuse allegedly continued until May of 2019, when Melanie was finally able to go live with her mom. But Gavin wasn't allowed to come with her.
I want Gavin to get the justice he deserves.
The mother lost custody of her children when Gavin was 2 years old because a device that you use to smoke the green substance was found in her home. After 4 years, she finally got shared custody of her children. She started noticing bruises on Gavin and started taking pictures as evidence and reported it. When Shane and Nicole found out about that, they made false accusations against the mom. And again, she wasn't allowed to see her children until an investigation was done. Her son Gavin Peterson has now passed away, and she is devastated and demands justice for Gavin. So that's it for today's video. I want to thank you all so much for watching. Please let me know in the comment section down below what you think. In my opinion, Jan Davis, the lunch lady from Gavin's school, she should be very proud of herself. She shouldn't be feeling guilty whatsoever. She was trying to help Gavin. She even paid for his lunch with the help from her colleagues. But she was really fighting to protect him. And what else could she have done? She kept calling and reporting this over and over and over. Something in the system have to change, because this keeps happening over and over, and it's absolutely devastating. It's heartbreaking. It's only kids, defenseless, innocent children. How is it possible that no one within the system steps up and help these children? There's something wrong in the system, and it has to change, in my opinion. Let me know what you think, and until the next one, take care and stay safe. Bye.